صلى الله وسلم عليك يا رسول الله وعلى أهل بيتك المعصومين المنتجبين. يا ليتنا كنا معكم سادتي فنفوز فوزا عظيما. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله، السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله، السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة المظلومة. ما خاب من تمسك بكم وأمن من لجأ إليكم. يا ليتنا كنا معكم سادتي فنفوز فوزا عظيما. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والذين يقولون ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما. آمنا بالله صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوات اللهم صل على Muhammad. For the love of Imam Abi Abdullah al-Husayn, with the loudest of our voices, sallu ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. For the purification of our hearts and hastening of the reappearance of our beloved 12th Imam, with the loudest of our voices, sallu ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Once again, my dear brothers and sisters, lovers and the followers of Ahlul Bayt, we thank Almighty Allah for gracing us with this wonderful night, the 4th night of the holy month of Muharram. And we pray that Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala accept our humble efforts in this holy month of Muharram and grant us more opportunities to visit Sayyidu Shuhada alayhi salam in the holy land of Karbala. Last night we discussed ways and means of uncovering creativity within our communities. And I encourage myself and my dear brothers and sisters, most especially parents amongst us, to try as much as we can to uncover the creativity of our sons and daughters so that we are able to serve them properly with the sole aim of preparing them to become the true ambassadors of the Imam of our time. The verse I've just quoted from the glorious Quran, I have no doubt this verse is known, if not to all of us, but to most of us here. It's Quran 25, Surah Al-Furqan, verse number 74. This verse is within verses outlining some of the characteristics and the features of the true servants of Allah. So it's in a form of dua. وَالَّذِينَ يَقُولُونَ رَبَّنَا هَبْ لَنَا مِنْ أَزْوَاجِنَا. Amongst the characteristics of the true servant of Allah, they say, "Oh our Lord, grant us from our wives or spouses and offspring or children comfort to our eyes." Then towards the end they make dua, وَجَعَلْنَا لِلْمُتَّقِينَ إِمَامًا. Ya Allah, make us not just believers or the pious ones, but those in the forefront of the believers and the pious ones. Now, departing from this beautiful verse, our topic of tonight is to look at raising children of different ages, nurturing growth and instilling values. Very important discussion tonight. Examination will be of the following 3 stages. The first stage, we'll look at the difference between caring, teaching, and nurturing. Ri'ayah, ta'lim, and tarbiyah. You see, I'm taking my time to spell out this because I want you to appreciate it. Caring, teaching, nurturing. That will be our first stage of the examination. Second stage of the examination, we'll look at stages or levels of nurturing from the philosophical perspective and the religious perspective. So when I talk of religion, I'm talking of Islam and the traditions of our beloved Prophet and Ahlul Bayt salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhim ajma'in. And then the last stage of tonight's discussion, we'll look at values of nurturing. Qimatu tarbiyah. There are certain values we are all expected to instill in our sons, daughters, grandsons, granddaughters, any young one who looks up to you as his or her role model. Because at the end of the day, our sons and daughters are the future. They are the upcoming generation. I sitting here and some of us sitting here, we only trying to enhance our iman and our faith. But the future is for these young ones. Future belongs to them. Yes, life is in the hand of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. But future belongs to them. And hence is of great importance we pay special attention to the nurturing of our sons and daughters, so that we are not stopped on the day of Qiyamah to be questioned as to why we violate the rights of our sons and daughters. Because tarbiyah is not something that we should take lightly. Tarbiyah is wajib. Tarbiyah is the right of our sons and daughters. So first stage of our examination, the difference between the 3 elements I mentioned. The first one is caring, ri'ayah, or in Urdu you say ri'ayat. Farisi they say ri'ayat. Parents here, one of the things we do towards our sons and daughters is caring. What is caring? Tahayyatu wasa'il al-hayat. is to provide our sons and daughters means of livelihood. That's it. That's not tarbiyah. Food, shelter, education, send them to the top university, top-notch private school. This is caring. You caring for them. That's not the foremost in the sight of Allah. Apana. But it's integral part of your duties as fathers and mothers, or as grandfathers and grandmothers, or as elders of our community. So that's caring. That one, most of us do it. Most. I have the money. I send you to the best university in the world. I don't have. I send you to the university I'm able to afford. That's it. I give you the best house to live in. You have the best gadget to use. That's caring. Some of us parents, we think caring is everything. Hence, some of us, we stop at caring. We don't go beyond caring. And I can confidently say, good number of us, we stop at caring. We leave the tarbiyah with madrasa and the community. Whereas it has to begin with I and you, so that the madrasa and community are able to complement your efforts. Caring. Second terminology is ta'lim. Kindly understand it as parents. So you go home, you reflect on this. What is ta'lim? To transfer information either from you or from someone to your sons and daughters. What is knowledge, Habibi? It's the presence of information in the heart. That's knowledge. Okay, you have the knowledge, and so what? You've got the knowledge. So? What is important is what I achieve out of my knowledge. It's not the knowledge. And I'm saying this to myself first. Whatever I say here on this member of Abi Abdullah, wallah, if I do not implement, it's curse on me. And today our biggest challenge is what? It's not knowledge. It's the implementation of knowledge. We live in a global village. I can sit here and talk. Easier said than done. That's the problem we have faced. Even those of us, not all, who sit on member. We can talk nicely. I'm able to motivate you unbelievably. But then when I go out of mahfal, my behavior, my attitude, my akhlaq is contrary to what I preach. Hence, we are stuck for quite a long time. So, ta'lim, what is ta'lim? You pass on information to your sons and daughters. But yes, when the information is transmitted to our sons and daughters in a good way, it may bring about certain positive changes in their lives. You know, one poet, one scholar mentioned beautifully, he said, you see, if you want to appreciate knowledge, look at these three creatures of Allah: ant, worm, and bee. What's the difference between the three? You know, ants, whatever they manage to get, they make sure they store it. Worms, whatever they get, they don't need any other thing anymore. They are sorted. B, whatever they get, they don't just store it. They make the best out of it. As it is said, when you acquire knowledge, become like a bee. When you come here every night, I beg you, brothers and sisters, take something, reflect, so that it becomes useful. Jamaat invite someone, he comes, he speaks, they pay money, it becomes effective. Not only I am going and ticking the boxes. I don't want ticking the box exercise. I don't want it. I want you to take something out of what we're talking about, so that by next year, Muharram, there will be some positive changes in us. So ta'lim. Parent, we do ta'lim. You have mu'allim, he teaches your children Quran. Sindio? He teaches the Quran. That's information. Now come to the third one, which is the most important. Tarbiyah. Nurturing. What is tarbiyah? Tarbiyah, my dear brothers and sisters, is ihya'ut taqa. Is to bring the beauty out of your sons and daughters on account of knowing their God-given talent. That's tarbiyah. Ri'ayah you are doing, you're giving them money, they're traveling, they're chilling. Ta'aleem you are doing. Father, mother, are you doing tarbiyah? Because tarbiyah is to uncover their God-given talent and ensure that it manifests sooner or later in their lives. That's tarbiyah. Now, different scholars come forward and discuss this concept of nurturing or tarbiyah. So I'm going to give you a few examples. The first one is Rousseau. Rousseau is a French philosopher, and Oliver Kant is a German philosopher. According to these two scholars, very interesting, yeah? They said if you want to understand tarbiyah, try to understand the difference between habits and nurturing. They said habit is something you do haphazardly. You're not well informed. But they say tarbiyah is what you do well informed. That's according to these two scholars. And there is another scholar, John Dee. He's an American philosopher. But there is this scholar, Fuad Ibrahim al-Ahwani, Misri, Egyptian, who wrote a lot on the work of John Dee. One thing he did is about tarbiyah, nurturing. He said, nurturing of a child is of two dimensions. The emotional dimension and then the social dimension. He said the emotional dimension is up to the parent or grandparent, nanima, whatever, to determine. He said how? They said every child, as I mentioned before, is unique. Sometimes you find in same family, siblings, this one is too reserved. That one is super active. Or as they say, hyper. That one is too mean. That one is too cheeky. Bottom line, sometimes you find in the same family, brothers and sisters, one is introvert and the other one is extrovert. So according to this scholar, John Dee, he said that first dimension of tarbiyah is to appreciate the mood of your children. Depending on the mood, you do the tarbiyah. Because a child who is introvert and a child who is extrovert, you cannot give the same tarbiyah to them, Habibi. If you've studied psychology, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Because the need of a child who is introvert is completely different from the need of a child who is extrovert. Oh no, a child who is talkative. There are children, mashallah, they can give khutbah. Talkative. And there's a child sort of paranoid, if you like. The type of tarbiyah you should give is completely different. This according to this scholar. And he said the other dimension is a social dimension, whereby regardless of whether your children are doing homeschooling, whatever, they need to go out either in sports or whatever to socialize and learn. Now come to Islam. I beg you, look at what Islam says. As to the meaning of tarbiyah. As per the traditions of our beloved Prophet and Ahlul Bayt, Tarbiyah is to develop God's conscious child. Today it's easy for me to say, no, I know myself. I believe in myself. True, you have to believe in yourself. I agree. But if you believe in yourself and it's contrary to the teachings of Allah, then you have lost it. You've lost it. Tarbiyah, my dear brother and my dear sister, in Islam is for a father and mother or a leader of a community to be able to develop God's conscious child. That is why our beloved Prophet taught us, Al-waladu salih rayhanatun min rayahin al-jannah wa rayhanataya min ad-dunya al-hasani wal-husayn. Subhanallah. Very powerful tradition. Prophet said, a good child is what? Is one of the bundles of heaven. And my bundles of this world are Hassan and Hussein. You see, it's easy to have a child, but it's not easy to have a child with good tarbiyah. It's not easy. You know one narration, what he says? Fathers, you love this, or mothers, especially those who have worked very hard, not only giving money and highly education, but they are doing tarbiyah. Min sa'adatil mar'i an yakuna lahu waladun salih. He said the first sign of success in the life of every individual, Muslim individual I'm talking about here, is to have a God's conscious child. Yes, we have dunyawi success, we have ukhrawi success. Islam regards whatever success you achieve in this world as a relative success. The true and real success is whatever you achieve in your life to lead you to Allah. So you want to regard yourself as a father who is successful, not just because your daughter or your son is PhD holder. That's solid. We need it. I mentioned it last night. Not that your son sit on the member and talk. Sometimes I may sit on the member and I'm not pious because it's easy to talk. Don't get excited when somebody sits on member and talk. You have to match words with action. Because when I sit here, it's a hujjah against me on the day of Qiyamah. Allah will question me of every word I'm saying, whether I mean it or not. It's not about me being excited, no. So the success of a person is when that person is able to build and develop God's conscious. Now you know why tarbiyah is important, my dear brothers and sisters. It's because when you examine your life, every individual, you realize that our existence is made up of two dimensions. Physical dimension and spiritual dimension. Spiritual, don't take it on a face value. And please, fathers and mothers, pay attention to this. What is physical dimension of my life? The number of years you spend in this world. 50, 100, so what? 100 years? Okay, fine. Then what? You will die one day, isn't it? That's physical existence. The most important part of our existence is what they call recognized existence. Your wealth is a recognized existence. Your knowledge is a recognized existence. But the highest form of recognized existence is to leave behind a pious child. Imam Zain Abdul mentioned, it's your extension. And having a pious child, my dear brothers and sisters, has so much benefit in dunya and akhirah. You know, one benefit is what? Parents love this. When you have a child who is not baligh, every ibadah that child undertakes, the reward goes all to the parent. When your child makes salah, you get the reward. Whatever the child does, Quran, whatever, because it's not baligh, it's not mature, you get the reward. That's one benefit. There is also a benefit in barzakh. The moment you go to barzakh, for example, and you leave behind a good child. Give example. During the time of Prophet Isa alayhi salam, there was this gentleman, youth, who lost his father. So one day he decided to visit the father where the father was buried. He got there, and Allahu Akbar, and Isa was there also. Then Isa said to them, the father is receiving punishment. Obviously everybody wasn't happy. Then after 1 year, Isa visited that place when the son was in there. And then Isa was informed. Now this father who was receiving punishment now is in the maghfirah of Allah. He's been forgiven and he's been showered with blessings. So Isa raised up his hand and he asked Allah, why last year this way and this year that way? What was the response? Because he left behind a son. That son reached out to an orphan. On account of reaching out to that orphan on one day, Allah has forgiven the father entirely. So that's the benefit of leaving behind a pious child. So that's the meaning of tarbiyah. Let's go further. Second stage of the examination. Stages of nurturing. Levels of tarbiyah. First, as I said, I will share with you a philosophical dimension to this. By a philosopher, John Yabaji. He said, nurturing of a child is of 4 important stages. Kindly pay attention to these stages. I found it fascinating. He said, first stage is a stage of movement. He said, that's only first 3 years. First 3 years, they call it tafkirul haraki. The child moves. The child learns to stand, learns to sit, learns to crawl. So first 3 stage, or first 3 years, parents are expected to pay attention to the movement of a child according to this scholar. Second stage, he called it at-tafkirul ramzi. He said it's a stage where a child learns to understand the meanings of symbols. Any symbol from which year? From year 4 to year 7. He said at this stage, the child, when he sees something written, the child tries to reflect and read. So parents, you need to pay special attention to show them it means this, it means that, it means... Some parents, they don't care. And by so doing, we are undermining the child and we are killing the confidence of the child and the creativity of the child. Baba, tarbiyah is more harder than working to bring money home. It's the hardest thing, I tell you, my dear brothers and sisters. Baba, you want to leave behind a child more or less like Ali al-Akbar. You want to leave a child, of course, Ali al-Akbar is extra large, but you want to leave a child more or less like what? Wahab, how he grew up. So, money is difficult to come by. Education is difficult to come by. But tarbiyah is even more harder. There are men out there, their job is just to bring money. They have no clue as to how their children are growing. Only when they get old, they tend to chew their fingers. Had I know. And it is said, had I know is always at last. So from 4 to 7, the child learns the meanings of symbols. Then you go to the next one, which they call at-tafkirul ghayri, the third stage, whereby now the child learns to build a relationship, to adapt in a community. According to this philosopher, it is from 8 to 12. So if you have a son and a daughter, they are in this range, wallah, work on their social relationships. So it needs your time. You cannot be traveling all over the world. You need to be home sometimes. You need to instill those values in them. You need to monitor their mood. According to their mood, you instill the values. Sometimes they become moody. Don't do anything. Relax, chill. Sometimes, no, they want to take more. Give them more. You have to monitor. Parents, you need to be smart. And you need to be steps ahead of your sons and daughters. Otherwise, you will not win the game. The last stage is a very powerful stage. They call it at-tafkiru ta'ammuli, intellectual stage. So from 12 up to the time Kabristan calls a person. So that time is the time for the intellectual maturity. So according to this scholar, after 12, it is the time now for the intellectual maturity. Now I come to Islam. Let's come to Islam. When it comes to the stages of nurturing upbringing. Because if I don't do upbringing of my children, nurturing, Allah will question me. Wallahi. Sometimes children are not the problem. Parents are the problem. Children are innocent, ma'soom. Plain. Whatever you put in. Baba, I and Imam Ali is better. Imam Ali is extra large. Even dust under the feet of Imam Ali, I cannot even begin journey towards it. But Amir al-Mu'mineen salamullah alayh sat next to Imam Hassan al-Mushtaba. He looked at his son. Baba, Imam Ali is ma'soom. Hassan al-Mushtaba is ma'soom. What did he say to him? Qalbul hadathi kal ardil khaliya. He said the heart of a young fellow is like a fertile ground. Whatever you put on, it grows. You know what Imam Ali said? فَبَادَرْتُكَ بِالْأَدَبْ قَبْلَ أَنْ يَقْسُوا قَلْبُكَ وَيَنْشَغِلُ لُبُّكَ. He said, oh Hassan, I Ali rushed. I was in haste in instilling values in you before your heart become rusted. Imam Ali. Wallah Habibi. Imam Ali. But Hassan al-Mushtaba is ma'soom. But Imam Ali said, وَأَنْ يَنْشَغِلَ لُبُّكَ. I was in haste to instill values before your lips become busy with this world. That's very, very important. So this philosopher. We leave that. Come to Islam. You know the stages. I'm only going to give you some practical tips, then we move forward. Islam mentioned 3 normal stages. First 7, second 7, and third 7. It's a tradition from the Holy Prophets and Amir al-Mu'mineen, salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhim. La'ib ibnaka sab'a wa addibu sab'a wa sahibuhu sab'a. The last part of it is scary for me. Because I'm also a father, so it's a bit scary. Wallah, it's scary. You know Imam Ali what he said? He said, play with your son for 7, meaning first 7. So I'll explain, I'll give more practical tips. And then he said, then discipline him 7, meaning second 7. And then befriend him the third 7. Allahu Akbar. It's true. Sadaka al-Rasul wa sadaka Amir al-Mu'mineen. First 7, what is expected of I and you? Mu'mineen and Mu'minat. Anyone who masters first 7, second 7 becomes walkover. And then the third becomes even easier. Allahu Akbar. But if you don't master the first 7, second and third can be cumbersome, tedious. What do I do in the first 7? Quickly, because you know these things. First 7, number 1, you need to be very emotional with your children. You need to be extremely emotional. Because love comes from emotion. When there is emotion, there is no dryness. Things don't become boring. Why you have to be emotional? That's the first one. Because the child is playful in mind, which is positive. That's why when they go to school, some schools who have understood this, first 7, they make sure the studies are all in a playful way. First 7 is important. And being emotional, I give you a tradition from Imam Ali. Imam Ali and Imam Hassan. You know, there's a beautiful discussion on how Imam Ali alayhi salam raised Imam Hassan. You know what Imam Ali said to Imam Hassan? Salamullah alayhi. He said, wajadtuka ba'adi bal wajadtuka kulli. He said, oh Hassan, I found you half of me. He said, no. I found you whole of me, Ali. He said to him, that's emotional relationship. Then he said to him, if anything to affect you, Hassan, rest assured, I will be more affected. He said, oh Hassan, if death is to come to you, rest assured, I, Ali, will be dead also. So those of you, I see a lot of young parents here. First, let them learn, because children of today are smart. IQ is unbelievable. I discussed last night. Play with them, but teach as you play. That's not the only one in the first 7. Second practical tip, you must be extra patient. I know some fathers, we are not patient. We get worked up. Patience about what? Number 1, be patient on account of the cryings and the tears of your children. Because first 7, sometimes children may not allow you to sleep, Habibi. If Allah blesses you with a child, mashallah, who has the voice more than that of the Muazzin of Makkah and Medina, then you're not going to sleep. Mashallah, some children, they are blessed with voice. But you know, some fathers, what are we good at? When the child starts screaming, you pack your blanket, you go to sitting room with your sofa, Bismillah, and the woman will be busy doing Safa the Marwa with the son. You are needed there, Habibi. That's what tarbiyah is all about. And look at the following tradition from the Prophet and Ahlul Bayt. Any parents who are patient on account of the tears of their children, look at the reward. Prophet said, as they cry, first 4 months, the child is saying, La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah. Meaning reward for you parents. And then Prophet said, as they cry, it is dua for the success of the parent in dunya and akhirah. But you know, when they cry and I squeeze my face, I kill their confidence. Kwisha. That's why in fiqh, if you beat a child, you have to seek forgiveness. And you beat until red come, kafaro. So patience on their tears. Let's go second patient. Young parent, you know, and we have many experienced parents here. When children get ill, it can be a nightmare. Especially when they are very young infant. Sometimes you can't tell. May Allah bless our mothers. They use this mouth to suck the mucus in the noses of their children. So no wonder Allah says heaven is under the feet of mothers. Because the child is crying. They give paracetamol, it's not working. They don't know where is the problem. But you know what Prophet said? Any parent who is patient on account of the sickness of their children, for every patient is kafara for the sins of the parent. Allahu Akbar. Why kafara? Because when you become patient, you are building and developing the confidence of that child. But when you lose your cool, you are distracting the confidence of the child. What happened? The child will grow fearing you. Then what happened? They go to school, secondary school. Something unlawful happened. They are scared to tell you. They will only tell mom. Consider yourself a failure if your sons and daughters cannot tell you any challenge in their lives. Go back to the drawing board and do the work. It's the most dangerous thing. You have a daughter, you have a son, they go to school, excuse my word, maybe homosexuality is happening, atheism is happening, but you are the last person they talk to. It means you've not done a good job, bro. You've not done a good job. You've not done it. But it's not too late. Go back and work on it. If you truly want your legacy to remain permanently, even after your departure from this world, if you want them to remember you with at least one Surah Fatiha, which Prophet said there is no barrier between the Fatiha of a child to their parent who are not in this world and the acceptance of Allah. So be patient when children become ill. That's how you develop their God's consciousness, Habibi. It's of great importance. Number 3, be patient when the children want you to play with them. Because Prophet said, whoever has a child must also be a child. No, I'm busy work. I'm busy. She no other. She no conche. Busy work. Chill, man. Make some time. You see, some children, they grow, they've got what is called psychological block. Because they've not been given time a lot. And now they go out somewhere and look for it. Dangerous. May Allah save all of us, inshallah. It's not easy. It's not easy. But it's doable. So this first stage, not to bombard you much, because I don't have much time. Second stage, which is the second 7, is ta'lim, teaching now. But today children are smart. They are very smart because, we are in a global village. So first 7, you see children, unbelievable. Some parent uncovered the potential of their children and their children became Hafiz of Quran, 6 years old. You know the young fellow Tabatabai in Iran? His parent uncovered the potential. Hence he memorized Quran at age 5 or 6. And today there are so many of them. So many. Baba, our community we can do also, man. We need to make time. So second stage, 7, is knowledge. You know, beautifully Prophet said, the very first day, Mu'allim put Bismillah in the mouth of every child. That Bismillah is bara'atun minan nar for the father and mother. Allahu Akbar. When it comes to secular education, tuitions, Islamic, no tuition. And you don't expect them to have so many questions in Islam? We must be joking. We must be joking. Abibi, they go to the best school. In addition to that, they go for tuitions. Those who can afford, they pay a lot of money for tuitions. They then go to the university. Sometimes they don't even do well. They may go through clearance to get their seat or place in university. Upon all the private school, or grammar school, or the university, Baba Islam Madrasa 3 days in a week, or 4 days in a week. There is no any teaching. And Islam is more broader than anything you can think of. And you don't expect them to ask you whether tawassul is authentic or not. You don't expect them to ask you, why do you do matam? It doesn't make sense to me. You don't expect them to ask. We must be joking. Look at the balance, Habibi. Because Islam is not that priority. Sometimes we want our children to become doctors and we spend massive, but eventually they don't become. But Islam, we don't spend. Who spend money? Ma'alim come to teach, small kichiro and the money give. Allahu Akbar. You know what, Maulana? You know, normally between Ashura and Arba'in, so many majalis, isn't it? So Maulana become busy. It's a bumper harvest, they call it. The Maulana's become busy. But there's this Maulana, every place you go, before he goes on Hadiyah, is kitchen. Baba, one of his children look at him and said, please, I beg you, don't bring this to the house. And that's what somebody said, look, I don't want to become a person of Fisabilillah, because Maulana, everything Fisabilillah. Quran Fisabilillah. The priority we give secular education, it may not be same level, I agree. We also need to give priority so that our children will see dad and mom are giving priority. They will also take it to them. How many of your chance you have to force them to go to madrasa? You force them. But who is forced to go to school? You find young children in madrasa, you have to force them. You have to incentivize it. You have to give them lollipop, madrish. You have to give something. So, second stage is ta'lim, teaching. And there are so many things Prophet and Ahlul Bayt Salamullahi alayhim taught us to do. Number one, Abibi, teach them how to write. Kitaba. We have a tradition. He said, children have right. Give them beautiful name. And teach them how to write. And number three, when they reach marital age, marry them. The next thing you teach your children is what? Aqidah. Aqidah. Aqidah is important. You have to teach them Allah. You have to teach them prophets. You have to teach them about Ahlul Bayt. Madrasa is not enough. You need to do your work, or you need to do tuition, Quran, Islamic tuition. Tuition not only Quran. You have to do tuition of Islamic learning, Islamic sciences. Then it will help. You know one tradition, you know what Prophet said? He said, woe unto the children of Akhirul Zaman. I just read tradition this afternoon only. So that's Prophet. Are they not believers? Or will they not be believers? He said, no, they are believers, but their parent will fail to teach them fara'id, Allah's obligations. So I need to sit, Habibi. You also need to sit and teach your children. It's of great importance. Now, last stage of the examination. Values of tarbiyah. You see, my dear brothers and sisters, two factors influence upbringing. Nature and nurture. Tarbiyah and wiratha. The first one is wiratha, inheritance, nature. Every child who comes to this world comes with inherited attributes, either from the father or the mother or the grandparent. Or sometimes during conception, something happened and the child developed that attitude. But that can be changed through tarbiyah. The environment where children go is very important. Who are the friends of you? Baba, when they come of age, 18, 19, you can't do much. So that's why the third 7, you know what Imam Ali says? They are your friends. Because Imam Ali said, they may either be your friends or your enemies. That's the part I said is scary. Today, how many parents, they don't see eye to eye with their sons and daughters? They live in the same house. Father is praying, others are not praying. They live in the same house. Father, mashallah, he can drink top-notch liquor. And the children doing something else. This is all challenges. I don't laugh when I say these things. These are all challenges we need to work on. You've got situations. Father will buy the best Heineken. Children go out to do it, and then who's guiding who? So, third 7 is very important. That's the time you give everything to your sons because you trust them. How many fathers trust their children even with their wealth? Can you take a back seat and say, you know, my son, now you've reached 20, 30, you run everything. Baba, if If you can't trust them with your wealth, then you can't trust them with janazah. All comes as a result of tarbiyah. So there are values we need to instill. Quickly, I mention this and then inshallah we'll end. You know, to instill values in Islam, you need to teach your children some skills. Mahara. First skill, every parent needs to try to do. Teach them time management. We have so many traditions. Wallah, time will not permit me. So many traditions in Islam on how to do time management. I met some of the youths in the past 3 days. Most of them, the challenge they told me they faced, we can't manage our time, Sheikh. Parent is your duty. You remember the tradition of Imam Ali, divide your time into 4, for example. Second skill, we need to teach our children how to think. Critical. Today, Abibi, is the world of critical thinking. You know why sometimes our sons and daughters explode? Because they are not taught at early age. They go to university. The university is about critical thinking. Now, after university, they blast us with questions. Maulanas, we are running. And they come to the community, they had the question, no, this kafir. They go, hey, west. Shinwa, what is this? Every bala is west. We need to teach our children critical thinking at an early age. And Quran makes it very clear. Quran 39, verses 17 and 18. If you look at the last part of verse 17, فَبَشِّرْ عِبَادٍ, then it goes, الَّذِينَ يَسْتَمِعُونَ الْقَوْلَ فَيَتَّبِعُونَ أَحْسَنَ. Give glad tidings to my servants. They are those, when they listen to what has been said, they don't just take it because Sheikh Nuru said, this plan said, no. They look at the best out of it and take the best. And they critique it. You know, critique whatever I say here. Critique it. Tear it apart. Critique. That's how you develop your critical thinking. You know what Imam Ali said? إِكَلُوا الْخَيْرَ أَكْلَ رِعَايَةً لَا أَكْلَ رِوَايَةً. Imam Ali said, Khabar, he said what? Relate to every news or information that comes to you with a sound judgment. Not just absorbing. So it is the duty of parents to teach their children how to think. Don't spoon feed children. Teach them at early age how to think. When there is something, tell them, what do you think? What do you think? Should he do? What do you do? Teach them. That's second skill. And the last but certainly not the least skill to teach our children, teach them how to be organized. Teach them organization at an early age in their lives. Then after that, you sort it, you just instill the values. First value, listening to the verses of Quran in the house. Quran. You can't recite, go learn how to recite. You don't know. Make your house a place where now and then there is the sound of Quran. You drive in your car, music. You talking, no, God is Rahman, God is Ghafur. I agree, God is Ghafur, but God is also perfect God. It's not a confused God. So he has his barometers. You live in the UK, for example, or you live in Dar es Salaam, for example. There are laws of the country you have to follow, whether you agree with it or not. But when it comes to Islam, everybody asks a question. It doesn't make. Who said everything in Islam must make sense to you? Who said it? Nobody said everything should make sense. We don't have said that everything must make sense for me to follow. But when it comes to country's law, your work laws, whether it makes sense or not, alhamdulillah, akuna shida. But when it comes to Islam, everybody is mujtahid. Please, man. Quran. Second thing, salat. Pray together. Lead them in prayers. 13. Teach your children to build their self-esteem from young age. There are skills you can do that. And then the last one, make them proud of their religion. In conclusion, before we do the musibah, teenagers can be challenging. 3 things I will mention. Try to do it. And these 3 things is based on this. You know, we have younger generation and we have older generation. The younger generation, here I'm talking of teenagers, even 30, 25, whatever, and our senior citizens. You know that generation, what's the name they call? Connecting generation. Connecting. Jil Ittisal. Older generation is communicating generation. What is connecting generation? Everything is online. What is communicating generation? They meet, somebody go UK for 50 years, he come, he meet the old man at the, Kemcho, Suche, Tabiat. It's like they've just established the relationship, but the relationship was established some years ago, during the time of Muharram Julius Nyerere. Because it's communicating generation. So this connecting generation, they are very inquisitive. We have to create balance. They will tell you program is too long because their concentration span is less. But the older generation, they want Yasin, Hadith Kisa, Marisia, tell me Sadiq Deoji Mullah, more. But they, Sheikh, simple punchline, Sheikh. No. Older generation, they said, you know what? If it is not recited in Urdu, I feel Muharram is 0. Younger generation say, you know what, Sheikh? You just tell me a few things in English, I'm sorry. Older generation, we have this. No. Younger generation will say, you know what? Thursday, why you do always do I command? How Tawbah do it also? What's wrong? No, older generation, no, do I command? Who is this chokro is trying to disturb us? I know I'm taking much of your time, but I'm done. Younger generation will say, no, Tawbah. Change different dua. Let's do part of it. And older generation say, no. Now we need to create a balance. Because if you look at our communities across the globe, we have this challenge of disintegration. Between the younger generation, we have it. You agree, you don't agree. Allah, I don't know. But that's my humble personal journey of the community. Big time. You don't see younger generation always sitting and talking about religion. Because they think this one is going to take 1 hour program. Me, I want only 20 minutes, 30 minutes program. How do you bridge the gap? Hewar, dialogue. It cannot be either your way or the highway. If you want to make it either your way or the highway, you're going to lose your upcoming generation. Big time. There must be hiwar, dialogue. Let them understand where the older are coming from, and let the old also understand where the younger are coming from. And then the last part, certainly on the list. Both generations must be patient. Be patient with each other. Some of our elders, the only place they have their fun is mosque. They don't have any. You, mashallah, go to gym, mashallah. You do some work, mashallah. I don't know, Cape Town Fish Market, mashallah. The older generation, mosque is everything. You saw it during COVID in the other part of the world. People died out of dementia. So we need to create that dialogue as a leadership of the community so that the older generation can impart whatever they have and they can also give audience to the younger generation. We take our hearts, inshallah, to Karbala and remember the great companion of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, Hurr ibn Yazid al-Rayahi. My dear brothers and sisters, lovers and the followers of Ahlul Bayt, as Muslims, we know the door of Tawbah is wide open. And Abu Abdullah Salamullah alayh ensured that the door of Tawbah to Allah was wide open on the 10th day of Muharram. We are told in the narration, 30 from the camp of the enemies joined Abu Abdullah on the 10th day of Muharram. 2 of them is the family of Abu al-Hatuf. They were enemies of Amir al-Mu'mineen 20 years before the 10th day of Muharram. But then they decided to come and join Abu Abdullah. When Abu Abdullah asked them, why are you joining? They said, we saw Zainab running from one tent to the other. Second one of them on the way to Karbala is Zuhair ibn al-Qayn. Zuhair was coming back from Hajj with his wife Dailam. They were in one camp and Abu Abdullah was in another camp. Zuhair saw Abu Abdullah and he said to his wife Dailam, I hope Hussein doesn't see me and he doesn't call me to join him, although I know he is right and Yazid is wrong. But Dailam looked at the husband and she said to him, will you be happy to sit here while the son of Fatima al-Zahra is alone? And you know very well, Zuhair supported the third Khalifa against Amir al-Mu'mineen. But he went and Hussein accepted him because Hussein had this slogan, I will forgive so that I make way for Allah to forgive me. Allahu Akbar. On the 10th day of Muharram, the one who epitomized Tawbah is Hurr ibn Yazid al-Rayahi. Hurr is the leader of Banu Rayah, and he was the chief army of the camp of Umar ibn Sa'ad. Hurr was known to be the main warrior of Kufa. Hurr met Abu Abdullah in Karbala. When he met Abu Abdullah, his horses were thirsty. He came to Abu Abdullah and Imam al-Hussein offered water to the horses. But then they denied Sakina water. They denied Asgar water. Instead of giving water to Asgar, it was an arrow on the neck of Asgar. They denied Qasim water. Instead of giving Qasim water, it was to chop the pieces of the flesh of Qasim. But Abu Abdullah gave water to the horses of Hurr ibn Yazid al-Rayahi. Here came the time of Salah. Hurr then came and approached Abu Abdullah. Hussein looked at Hurr. He said, Hurr, why don't you lead Salah? Hurr said, no, I cannot lead Salah when the son of Fatima al-Zahra is sitting next to us. Abu Abdullah then led them Salah. Allahu Akbar. Wallah, I tell you, Hurr had a beautiful heart. But Abu Abdullah, upon leading the Salah, he decided to head towards Kufa. But before heading towards Kufa, they were thirsty. The water got finished. He wanted water. Hurr blocked the water from Abu Abdullah. Imam al-Hussein looked at the Hurr. He said, Wallah, Hurr, if I did not know your mom, I would have said something. Why are you blocking us from water? Hurr said, we have a mission. You either take allegiance or we block you from water. Allahu Akbar. Hurr now went back to his tent and Abu Abdullah went back to his tent. But then as Hurr was going back to his tent, he overheard Sukaina calling Al-Atsh, Al-Atsh, Al-Atsh. Thirst, thirst, thirst. And he overheard Abu Abdullah calling Al min Nasirin Yansuruna. Is there any helper to help us? Is there any assistant to assist us? But wallah, I tell you, 3 things changed Hurr on the 10th day of Muharram. Narration says on the 10th day of Muharram, Hurr was sitting on one side, Ibn Ziyad on one side, Shimr on one side. Then Hurr asked them, what is going to happen today? What was their response? They said, today, hands will be chopped off and heads will fly. They asked him, what is going to happen again? While he was asking them, he saw Abu Abdullah made fire and set fire in front of his camp. Then Shimr called out, Hussein, are you ready for the fire of hell? That hurt her so much. Then suddenly Ibn Ziyad called out, oh my soldiers, my horses are thirsty, give them water. Or then said, you deny Sakina water, you deny Asgar water, now you are calling water for your horses? That was that moment Hur called his son Ali and his brother Mas'ab and his servant. He said, now come, let's go to Hussein. Hur was looking down while heading towards Abu Abdullah. As he was getting towards Khaymaga, Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas salamullah alayh stood up to go and finish him off. Abu Abdullah said, no, wait, Abu al-Fadl, let us hear what he has to say. Hur came. He said, Hal li min tawbah ya Hussein. Hussein, will I be forgiven? Allahu Akbar. Abu Abdullah said, yes, of course. Allah will forgive you. Then you know what Hur said? I blocked you water. I'm ashamed of that. Go please tell Zainab I made her prisoner. Say to Zainab, I am sorry. But he said, Ya Abu Abdullah, for what I did, let him be the first person to go. Allahu Akbar. Or then went to the battlefield. Whatever happened, happened. They killed Hur. But you know very well, Hur was killed next to the body of Zuhair ibn al-Qaid. And one person, when he was killed, Hussein looked at the enemies and he said, may Allah raise you on the day of Qiyamah as pigs. Because you know what they did to the body of Zuhair? They mutilated the body. Well, I leave you with this last line. All the bodies were on the ground. Hur, Zuhair, Dailam, the wife of Zuhair, she called her servant, take this piece of paper, piece of cloth, go around those bodies in Karbala. When you come across the body of Zuhair, please cover the body. He took piece of cloth, he went around Karbala, around the bodies. Then he came back holding the piece of cloth. Dailam looked at him. She said, haven't you seen the body of Zuhair? He said, Wallah, I came across the body of Zuhair. But when I made an attempt to cover the body of Zuhair, I then saw the body of Abu Abdullah. ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا آل محمد أي منقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. ماتم الحسين يا حسين.